Despite still being in early access, the Outlast Trials has thoroughly impressed me, and I'm confident that this game will only get better in the years to come, especially after it leaves early access in March of 2024. Honestly, I was starting to get a little worried about whether or not this game would even live to see 2024 considering the shenanigans that occurred after Update 2. When the game was released in May, there were frequent updates for about a month, and then after Update 2 in June, there was complete radio silence for 2 straight months. It didn't help that Program Omega, the special trial that came with the update, had mixed reception, mainly due to the fact that it required at least 2 players to run it, which made the solo player base kinda mad. It also was only supposed to be around for a few weeks as stated in the Steam community post, but it was kept in for around 4 months. Things were looking real grim in August. Peak concurrent players had dropped below 1,000, which is not good, believe it or not. But thankfully the devs came out the very next day and said, "Don't worry guys, we're cooking." Finally, in late October, we got Update 3. And this, in my opinion, was the update which set the bar for this game's future. New map, courthouse, new MK challenges for previous maps, chess minigame, more amps, more character upgrades, level cap increase, program X refresh, but the real kicker was the addition of a new Halloween-themed special program called Program Geister. Program Omega is dead. Long live Program Geister. Where the former failed to captivate players, the latter showed us the way forward and how much potential this limited-time special program format truly had. Geister basically fixed every problem that Omega had. Can't play solo on Omega? Well, you can on Geister. Omega Trial variators are too difficult for new players, and admittedly for me too. Well, not to worry, because Geister's thing is simply tripping balls in Stage 1 psychosis for the whole trial. No unique rewards for completing Omega, thereby making it completely pointless since you can get the same rewards from easier programs. Geister says, "Hold my beer," and rewards a plethora of Halloween-themed cosmetics. Admittedly, I found Omega to be more challenging, and for me that means more fun, but I'm sorry. Geister brought this game back from the brink of death, and gave us all something we desperately needed. Hope. Gave us hope. Although, I would be lying if I said Geister was perfect, as the trial variators weren't very challenging for veterans of the game, and it was a pain in the ass to acquire the necessary tokens to buy all the special items after they were unlocked. But anyways, after Geister, there were the weekly programs, which have unique trial variators, but no real unique rewards other than a single black and white poster. My opinion of the weekly programs is this: if it sounds like an interesting program, then I'll give it a shot. But see, the problem is that the weekly programs usually aren't that interesting. I did play the Be Quiet one, which made it so that using in-game voice chat attracted enemies, which I guess was a little cool, but I completed the whole thing with randoms in less than like 2 hours. The weekly programs are just kinda underwhelming and feel more like fluff rather than actual content. They give no real unique rewards, the programs are too short, and the actual variators are often pretty boring. For example, no meds is, just as the name suggests, no healing items in the trial, which is like an average day for me, as I'd rather die than admit I need to heal. And then there's Bad Trip, which is just Program Geister's variator, but not as good since there's no rewards, and it's much shorter. Speaking of Geister, it actually ended up getting one-upped by the next special program which came out with Update 4, Winter Kills. While Update 3 brought more content to the game, Update 4 gave us the best special trial so far, as Winter Kills basically fixed every flaw that Geister had. To start, the trial variators were actually challenging, as one of them made it so that every few minutes the trial environment would be filled with freezing cold air. And the only way to survive these cold temperatures was to find a hiding spot. Now usually my playstyle involves me full sprinting through the trial with no regard for my own safety in hopes of completing the trial as fast as possible. In my first few runs of Winter Kills, I quickly learned that this strategy wouldn't be feasible. I was forced to change my playstyle to be more cautious and actually use my brain. I needed to keep track of how long it had been since the last cold snap, since if I drew the attention of an enemy and a cold temperature alert happened while I'm being chased, I couldn't simply duck into a hiding spot because, well, I'll just be dragged out and beaten to death. This variator was simple but effective and gave me some of my most intense games since my first few hours of gameplay when I didn't even know what I was doing. Only this time, I did know what I was doing, and I was yet still scared shitless. This paired with the Gifts and Trial variator made for the ultimate risk-reward gameplay, as this new secondary objective, as the name suggests, has everyone trying to find Christmas gifts scattered across the trial, and if you collect them all, you get double the tokens, and double the cosmetics. A number of times, We had completed the main trial objective, but forgot like 2 gifts or something, and then one person would go back into the trial to find them only to die, and then we would all have to go back for them and the gifts, or hell, sometimes we didn't even think it was worth it. Maybe we didn't have the map knowledge or the skills necessary to find the gifts and return alive, so we just said, screw it, and just didn't do it. This secondary objective helped to fix the problem that Geister had with being way too stingy with the number of unlocked tokens they gave away, and helped make the special program a bit more challenging. The cosmetics were all Christmas themed, and they included a brand new type of cell decoration called bundles, which gave your cell a whole new look. At the time of recording, the 3rd weekly trial post-Winter Kills has come to an end, and it appears that there is no special program out yet. It's another weekly, but it's no rigs, which actually seems kinda challenging and interesting, and I'm willing to give it a shot. I know this video is titled The Future of Outlast Trials or something, and yet all I've been talking about is the past, but I felt that it was important to establish the context of what came before so that I can justify my reasoning for what I believe will come after, if that makes any sense. Presently, the flow of content is as follows: 3 weekly programs or more, followed by a special program that usually lasts for about 3 weeks. If there is a big update, it is likely to be released alongside a special program, along with a refresh of the Program X trials, which, if you don't know, Program X is like very, very replayable program. After you do the main programs, it's like the one thing that's really replayable in the game right now at this moment. I believe that having more time to play the special programs and collect all the limited time rewards would be beneficial for the casual player base, which would result in more people playing the game more often, as player counts tend to rise when these special programs take place. Even I had difficulty getting all the rewards in Geister because for the first 2 weeks, I was busy and wasn't able to play much. But the time I did spend in the first 2 weeks was spent on the new map that came out, Courthouse, which wasn't even in Geister. I didn't get around to it until the final week it was out, and I really had to grind to get those rewards, let me tell you, which at times made the experience kinda unenjoyable, since I eventually just kept replaying the same 2 trials that were the quickest to complete. Speaking of replayability, I find that a lot of the critical reviews surrounding the Outlast Trials mention the fact that the game lacks replayability, as after doing all the trials a few times, players aren't very motivated to keep replaying them, even if it's for an event like Geister, like Winter Kills. Map, trial, and enemy variety will only get better with age as new updates are added, but I feel like these aren't really what players are referring to when they say the game lacks replayability. When I think of replayability, I think of gameplay and rewards for engaging with said gameplay. Think of gameplay as a primary motivator and the rewards as a secondary motivator. While the gameplay is the most important factor as to whether or not someone will really be engaged with a game they play, they also need to get some kind of visible reward for their efforts. When the perfect balance of primary and secondary motivators is struck, a game will feel infinitely replayable to those who engage with it because there will always be something to work towards, and the process of actually working towards that something won't feel like work at all, but rather an adventure. How the Outlast Trials finds and executes this balance will, in my opinion, determine whether or not I'll be mourning the death of my beloved live service game 2 years from now or 10 years from now. Now, while I do have confidence in Red Barrel Studios to not completely fuck this up, when it comes to live service games, it's really a dice roll. I mean, other live service projects with more staff, funding, and marketing have tried and failed to survive in their respective genres. Some studios think they have the right balance of primary and secondary motivators, the winning formula if you will, but then the game actually launches only to die in the first few months. I would argue that presently the Outlast Trials has a solid balance of motivators, but I want to figure out how this balance can eventually become perfect and what steps could potentially lead to this outcome. Please bear in mind that I will be extremely biased in my opinions of what should be implemented into the game to improve it, since this is my video. However, if you've got an idea that you think could improve the game, feel free to comment it, as I am in desperate need of viewpoints that differ from my own. The first idea I have is quite scandalous, considering this is, for the most part, a PvE game, excluding the arm wrestling and chess minigames. A PvP mode would bring a whole new dynamic to the game and would certainly improve replayability, because now it's not about beating the trial environment, but rather beating other players with varying skill sets in the trial environment. One PvP mode that could potentially be very simple to implement is a time trial mode where players run a trial, Outlast Trials, to see who can get the fastest completion time. I say simple to implement because there's already a system in place that tracks how long it takes for a trial to be completed, and according to the speedrun.com page for the Outlast Trials, it has been tested and is accurate. I've been playing quite a bit of Forza Horizon 5 lately, probably more than I should have, honestly, and that game has the Rivals mode where you try to beat other players' times on various courses. While I wouldn't expect the Outlast Trials version of this to function exactly like Rivals, at the very least, it would have a leaderboard that would track all the times. The major hurdles with this would be moderating times and having an anti-cheat in place that would be effective in preventing cheating, unlike the one in Forza. The next PvP idea I have is to have a trial where simply the objective is to kill the other reagents or players in your game. Truthfully, I'm unsure how this would impact replayability and gameplay, but it would be pretty funny, I think. This next idea I am going to call Trials Tower because I'm not sure what the actual name of this gameplay system is, but I know that it has been used before in other games. Basically, a group has one chance to make it through a certain number of trials, with each trial increasing in difficulty with the hope of reaching and completing the final trial, and with it, the top of the tower. But here's the kicker. The trials are completely random, and for each level of difficulty, a random trial variator is added, making each challenge unique and, in theory, more difficult than the last. Now, I think the rewards would have to be pretty sweet for players to actually make an honest attempt to reach the top, but I believe that out of all my brilliant and somewhat original ideas, this one has the most potential to improve replayability. Final idea here is a little ambitious and I won't go too in depth, but would be cool to see, and that is a community trial maker. Again, this is a little aspirational because first the trial maker needs to be created, which is like making a whole new game, I imagine. Then the trial needs to be stored and hosted from somewhere, and then there's the moderation, and it's a lot of stuff. But it would be cool to see. Also, quick honorable mention here, this isn't really pertaining to gameplay or game mechanics, but the rewards, let me talk about this for a second, don't necessarily have to be items and cosmetics, like in Fortnite. They could also be titles that players could display to show others how much better at the game they are than everyone else. Kinda like actually the current player portraits changing when completing Program X and rebirthing a certain number of times. You know, that's kinda cool. Like prestiging in Call of Duty. I wish I could have gone more in depth about each brilliant idea, but it would probably take hours to iron out all the details, and I am honestly very tired. I'm very tired. Yep. I am looking forward to seeing how the Outlast Trials future plays out, and I hope that whatever strategy they decide to employ to improve replayability and maintain the game long-term succeeds. If anyone has made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. However, this will be my final video on YouTube indefinitely, as I currently have no plans to continue creating videos on this platform. This is to say, don't be surprised if I upload again, but also, don't be surprised if I never upload again. I feel that it is time to move on, you know, from YouTube. As, I mean, it's been my main hobby for quite some time now. Like, years. Jesus, years. I've become dissatisfied with the state of YouTube in recent years, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better anytime soon. I watched them remove dislikes. I watched as all my favorite creators slowly began to disappear from the platform, and recently, YouTube has made the move to make ad blockers unusable on their platform, which is a move that I am strongly against. This is no longer the platform I grew up watching as a kid. This is no longer the platform I was motivated to be a part of when I first started my YouTube journey. And while I am still motivated to create, I am no longer having fun creating on this platform. Now, I'm not sure if I'll continue with the content creation route on a different platform. Hell, maybe I'll just pick up a new hobby, or maybe even I'll just chill and do nothing for the rest of my life. I don't know. But hey, whatever happens, happens. However, I just want to say that this was truly a unique opportunity, and while it had its ups and downs, I feel confident in saying that it was a rewarding experience and one that I'll probably never forget. Thanks for everything, y'all. I'm gonna go play what is likely to be an unhealthy amount of Outlast Trials as I reflect on this decision and plan my future. That's all for this video. I'll see you when I see you. Love y'all. And take care.